Welcome to the Jackin Round Show, hosted by two-time Academy of Country Music Award winner, Jack Ingram. Coming up in 2 minutes is episode 26, featuring a singer-songwriter who recently launched a solo career after touring for nearly 30 years as the frontman for 1100 Springs and a close friend of Jack's since the mid-90s, Matt Hillyer. Check the description for Jack and guest bios and website links, including a link to listen to the show for your favorite audio platform or watch on YouTube. Plus, a link to access jackinroundshow.com, where you'll find the show's upcoming release schedule and back catalog of episodes, plus more. Before we begin, here's a 1-minute preview of today's episode, followed by a quick word from Jack on behalf of our sponsor, Lone Star Dry Goods.
How long did you go around with, the Gutter Rats, then the Lone Star Trio?
We went from Lone Star Trio to this rock band called Strap. We started going more after what the Reverend Horton Heat was doing, and we got louder and louder.
Why'd you spell out 1100 Springs?
It was problematic. If you put it on a sign, people are like, at 11 o'clock, Springs are playing. But we would always get to the sound check like an hour and a half later than they would. They're like, we leave at the same time. What is the deal with you guys? It's like, we have to pull over to the side of the road every 100 miles and drop the drive shaft to replace the U-joints. We played a gig with you at the Melody Mountain Ranch.
In Waco?
In Waco. Yeah. And I remember having a conversation with you, and you were talking about, it's like, man, I can see what we do in front of really big crowds. Can you see it? And I remember thinking, it's like, no.
Why'd y'all disband 1100 Springs?
I think we got to a point where it's like, when it's time to make a record, we just kind of scratch our heads and go, are we doing this, or...
Jackin Around Show is presented by Lone Star Dry Goods, a curated collection of handcrafted quality goods, the truly unique Americana vibe. Visit Lone Star Dry Goods in person, right here at the world headquarters in historic downtown Abilene, Texas, just west of Fort Worth in Willow Park, or online at LoneStarDryGoods.com.
Logo and everything.
All right, I found it. I got the perfect WWE intro song. Ready to go.
Batman! Christian Bale!
That's
one of my favorite friends.
Yeah.
Use Ice House cups. Lone Star Ice House. Lone Star Dry Good Ice House cups.
Yeah. And you could even put something in there from Bahama Bucks if you wanted to.
Whoa.
Yeah. You know.
That'd be good.
Uh-huh.
Bahama Bucks, I thought that'd be a great cover up.
Yeah. You don't feel like it worked?
I think it did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you came bearing gifts.
You learned that in Charm School 101.
Yeah. Come show up bearing gifts. A nice tasty treat takes the edge off for everybody.
On all kinds of ways.
Yeah.
I used to bring donuts to my first period class when I was like 20 minutes late.
Really?
In high school.
Did that work for you?
Fuck yeah.
I was I could see I was not a good student.
Neither was I, but I was a fun student.
Right. But so I don't mean that I was a bad student in the sense that my grades were bad. They weren't great. But I mean, I got thrown out of every single class I was ever in from first grade on.
Yeah, that's where the
fun part.
That's where the crawling up in the teacher's lap really came in handy.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, that's why I'm asking if it worked, because I'm just not smart enough.
It depends on your level of charm. It depends. Well, you can either say charm or bullshit.
I couldn't be contained, and I'm still this way. Like, I think that situations like a classroom or church or any place where you're supposed to keep your cool and just be chill.
Yeah, any place where there's boundaries.
It's not for
They
me.
must be pushed.
It's like the two of us being in the same room when other people are trying to play quiet songs. It could be a real bad situation. Like, we're going to get thrown out of the room.
But I think from what it sounds like, you'd end up in the principal's office and I'd end up sitting in the hall waiting for her to come out. And
Man, I beat the system, though. Finally, I beat the system through a lot of hard work and getting in trouble. For first grade, I got thrown out of class. The first time, I'm sitting in the hallway. And the first time that happens, the teachers, they walk by and they look at you and they're just like, and you feel shame. You feel real bad as a first grader. And then it happens like the next day. And then the next day, and like by the third day, they walk by and they give you that look. And you're just like, what?
See?
I like it here. This is where I like to hang out, in front of locker 325.
Right.
This is my spot. This is my space. And then you double down on it.
That's one way to do it.
And I had a period of time where I went to school where my mother was a teacher.
Oh, I never had to
And it
deal
was
with
fifth
that.
grade through high school, and she's a high school teacher. And she would go into the teacher's lounge, and all of her friends by then had already told her, it's Tuesday. They worked on a demerit system. And like by Tuesday, I had all the demerits you could get
For the week.
for 4-hour Saturday detention. You had 2-hour detention and 4-hour. I was always 4-hour. And I would look at my mom in the hall and be like, hey, Mom, what's up? And she's just like, no, we're going to talk later on. But I finally beat the system because at a certain point, I was in junior high, and they sent me to the principal again. And I sit down in his office, and he's like, he just goes, hey, man, have you ever, first thing he said was, I find that sometimes the kids that everybody thinks are the trouble kids, they're the ones that actually wind up doing cool stuff. I'm like, thanks, buddy.
I like you, man.
Thanks, man. And then he goes, another time I get sent in there, sit down, and he goes, hey, man, have you ever seen the movie Field of Dreams? I'm like, nah, I never seen it. And he just goes, it's a pretty good movie. You should check it out. And that was it. I was like, man, I broke it. I broke it.
You're his sounding board.
This isn't helping y'all's cause at all. It's 'cause I want to spend time in here. Find a job for me in the principal's office.
No kidding.
Should have taken it. But
See,
if
man,
I'd have brought donuts, I think I probably would have.
When I was in the hallway, teachers would come. First they'd shake their head, and then I'd be all, "Hey, hi, how you doing?" And then my teacher, after a period of time, would come out, and I'd have like 3 or 4 teachers, and I'd be sitting there holding court, having fun, talking to the teachers. And she'd go, "Jack, what are y'all talking about?"
Yeah. The words that I heard more than anything was, he has a lot of potential. He just needs to apply himself.
Yeah, he needs to focus in the right
He just needs
direction.
to focus his attention in the right ways. And that's what music did for me, really.
Well, that's the thing that your principal, he was probably, I mean, I don't know how old he was at the time, but he's right.
Yeah.
The kids who, I always tell my kids, like, if you're gonna be trouble, be interesting.
Yeah.
Like, just be worth talking about.
That's a teachable moment.
Don't just do stupid shit.
Yeah.
Do stupid, interesting shit.
Yeah. If I wish somebody would have actually put it to me that way.
I remember being with guys like you. We'd both be getting in trouble, but I'd be like, "Okay, that's it. We're at the line," and then you'd just come in with with a double down trick, which works for Trump and some others.
I always had one particular running buddy that we would get each other thrown out. And I thought it was great. Finally, I found somebody who was like me. And at least I wasn't alone. And then I remember me and my buddy Chris Ivy sitting in the hall one day after getting thrown out again. And and he was visibly upset because he knew it was going to be a real conversation for him. They were going to call his parents and stuff. And I'd given up on that. I was just like, what?
What are they gonna do? Hit me again?
I thought we were having fun. What am I, grounded?
Yeah.
I can't go out on Friday nights. I have to stay home and play guitar.
Right.
No, but that is what music did for me.
It's a good outlet. It's a good place to focus your attention, to apply yourself.
It was, man. And then all of a sudden getting up on stage, because I mean, that's about the time, 7th grade, when everything sucked. That's really about the time I started playing
For real.
gigs. Yeah.
What were your first gigs? Like, was it just Matt Hillyer? Or was it,
Matt the Cat.
That was Matt the Cat.
And the Gutter Rats. We put it, my brother
Matt
and
the Cat still sticks.
Well, I was into rockabilly music, and I thought it'd be cool if I had a nickname. And I had a friend's dad who, when I would go to his house, he would call me Matt the Cat, and I was like, "Hey, that works.
It's total rockabilly
That's
too.
kind of rockabilly, man. I'm going to be Matt the Cat." So I put together a band, and we played the school talent show, and we won.
Of course.
Of course, now nobody wins. Nobody wins the talent show anymore. You know.
I never won the talent show.
Yeah. No.
Mm-mm.
Would you
Charm will get you to the talent show.
Did you actually enter the talent show?
No,
Okay.
I was always.
That's why you didn't win. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
But you never lose.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Fair enough. That's a good way to.
I was
go through life.
I was always in the productions of where they picked the students, like the plays and the all school thing in the lunchroom where I was Uncle Sam, because I was the only one dumb enough to go, oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
My brother, I think I've mentioned this on another podcast, but my brother would look at my mom because he's older than me. And I'd be up there hamming it up, full beard, red and white blue suit, singing I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy. And he looks at my mom and goes, why do you make him do that?
He's not off to the side with his buddies going, Jack has a mangina. Jack
that would have been the next step, because he's like, what? Why would you make him do that? She's like, he volunteers.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
But yeah, so you were, well, you've always been technical enough to be in the talent show.
Oh, stop.
Come on.
Stop.
Quit. Go on.
Yeah. In which ways? Yeah, I don't know. We always had, every single Christmas, there was some sort of like musical instrument that was bought. Music was such a huge deal for me and my brother. And tried to play piano. I wasn't very good at that. And I don't know why it took me so long to play guitar, just because I always wanted to be a guitar player, you know?
So you weren't good at piano?
I mean, I could figure, musically, I just wasn't my thing. You know,
Yeah.
Sometimes you just figure out what it is. And once I started playing guitar, it made sense. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a decent guitar player. So,
Right.
and then after that, put a little band together and just really focused. And
Matt the Cat and the
Gutter Rats.
Gutter Rats.
Best band name ever.
That's a good name.
Rolls right off the tongue. Yeah.
Matt the Cat and the Gutter Rats.
Many a time people have asked, whatever happened to the Gutter Rats, man?
If I was a classmate, that'd be a good band to have back.
There's still a picture
at the reunion.
Yeah, there's still a picture of the Matt the Cat and the Gutter Rats at the check stop.
Oh, really? So you
Uh-huh.
were out touring with the Gutter Rats?
Well, so
I mean, at least exit.
I met up with. I
353.
was so into rockabilly, and I would go, and initially I was pretty bummed out because I discovered this kind of music that meant a lot to me, but it was not even a thing that anybody knew about. Hardly.
Are we still talking about way back then, or just
way back
to
then?
now?
Yeah, right.
That's what we
No,
chose.
my business model has always been, let's pick the most niche thing, whatever it is that
and make it more inaccessible.
I'm trying to redefine success.
Yes.
Reinvent the wheel.
It's important.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I mean, I was kind of bummed out because there weren't any rockabilly bands to go see. The Stray Cats had broken up. But then I became hip to the Wagoneers.
Mm-hmm.
The Wagoneers.
Monty.
Yeah. And I met them. My grandmother had a friend who worked for KLRU, the PBS affiliate in Austin. And they were putting they were putting on a show. It was a 2-night tribute to Buddy Holly, and Chris Christopherson was hosting it. And
What year was this?
88.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 88. And my grandmother said that we could have tickets for one night, which was hard to decide because, one night is Carl Perkins and Don McLean and Brian Setzer and all these Sweethearts of the Rodeo were on that show. You remember that band?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So we went, and I was all dudded up. When I was 13, like all my cool clothes were 2 sizes too big, but I looked cool,
Yeah.
And
Was it like a rockabilly suit?
I think what I had was this it was this little sweatshirt that had Buddy Holly's face on it, and I had like a leather jacket and these creeper shoes that I wore, and my hair was all slicked up, and the production people saw me in the bleachers, and they were like, "Hey, you need to be down here where the cameras are at."
How old were you?
Yeah, it's like 12 or 13.
In 88. All right.
Yeah. So they put us at a table sitting next to like Maria Elena Holly and Buddy Holly's brother. And I knew who they were just because I was that kind of a music nerd.
Right.
But then also at the other table was Monty and Brent and all the Wagoneers. Tom was there.
Right.
And they looked at me. They're like, "We see you, dude. We know what you're up to." And they struck up conversation. We became friends.
Oh, that's killer.
Yeah, and then they invited me out to. They were playing at the Austin Music Hall for like New Year's Eve, opening for Joe Ely.
Mm-hmm.
And they invited me out, put me on the guest list, brought me backstage and stuff. And they'd just been signed to A&M.
And when they handed you a guitar, you could play.
I could play, but so they put me on some shows. At the same time, back in Dallas, I got to know Reverend Horton Heat.
Mm-hmm.
I went to one of his shows, and he was the same. He just saw this little kid walking up all dressed up and remembered that. So when I had a band that would start to play, if I could have one set at all, these guys were cool enough to go, hey, what's up with your band? You want to come open at the Continental Club?
That's
Like,
killer. That's great.
yeah. And it was.
Who else was doing it? That kind of country rockabilly stuff back then in Dallas.
The Rev was really kind of it. That was it. I mean, before that, Teddy and the Tall Tops, I think.
What about that dude who was kind of older and country?
Oh, Ronnie Dawson?
Yeah.
Well, Ronnie lived in Dallas, and of course.
But he didn't come out. They didn't rediscover him until a couple years later.
And we were like the Lone Star Trio, our band later, our other rockabilly band, wound up being like his first backup band in the States. Because he would hire different British bands and go play these British, which was a huge big deal to me to get to know him.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, when you're doing something that niche and you're that young, every mentor you could have was swinging doors open for you.
And happy to have somebody. I'm sure that those guys got extra excited about a young kid doing it.
Yeah.
And got, oh, wow, he's continuing the tradition.
Yeah, because that kind of music, it's almost like you're in a gang or something. You sort of spot the other guys, and you sort of gravitate towards each other, and it's kind of cool in that way. But the Wagoneers manager at the time, Carlin Major, she had this little gold filling in her tooth, and I used to call her Twinkle Tooth. She hated that.
Yeah, she managed all of Austin.
Yes, because before the Wagoneers, I think it was like Rank and File, maybe Lone Justice. She got signed.
Yeah,
and then
I didn't know Lone Justice was out of Austin.
I think so. Yeah.
Is that Maria McKee?
Yeah. So she had some success with those folks, and then sort of took me on in a developmental kind of role. And then Matt the Cat and the Gutter Rats became a thing. They put together a different band, and it was.
You had to leave your friends at home?
I had to fire my brother. Which
you know, to that time, buddy.
Yeah, you know what? He was so cool about it, though. He's like, "Yeah, you need. I'm not good. You need to know."
Well, when he knew, like, you're into this.
Yeah.
You're diving in.
And we were doing two totally different. He was into punk rock still, and him trying to get on board with what I was doing, it didn't make any sense.
Was he playing guitar, or what was he playing?
Drums. And then we had
so he was Bob.
Yeah. Oh boy, love it, Texas. Yeah.
What about Bob?
Yeah. Valenzuela was our dad's name. You can't just cut it in half. I didn't hear 60 takes. Didn't hear a difference in one. Don't get me started on Bob.
There you go.
That's the Bob episode of the.
My favorite one. I only got really one from Bob. Besides, what about Bob? Is when he goes, "You better keep your ass to the wall tonight."
I'm so drunk tonight.
I'm so messed up. I'm gonna mistake you for Rosie.
Yeah, Bob is the coolest, man. Put a little mocha in our love life.
Bob's still around. I think he's on like NYPD or something.
He's Cy Morales, man.
Is he?
He's good.
Is that from Law and Order kind of show?
I can't remember what the last thing I saw him in
CSI
was.
or he's always in
something like that.
Big network crime dramas.
Yeah, but so we started doing more shows, and they put the next band and you know who? I don't know if you remember this name or not, but the original band was my brother, and then do you remember Meredith Miller?
Yeah.
Yeah, she played bass. It was a real odd
band.
Yeah.
How old was she?
She had to be maybe 3 or 4 years older than me.
She started making records a few years later after
that. Yeah. We went to school together, and
Reed Easterwood loved her.
Yeah. We bringing it back. We got to put a pin in Reed Easterwood. We're not quite there yet. I don't think.
No, as long as he keeps showing up.
Oh my gosh, he's always worth a mention.
So Meredith was the bass player.
Yeah, but we got Carlin was like, you need a new band. So she reached out to Marcia Ball because she knew Marcia's stepson Jeb was a really good drummer.
Mm-hmm.
So he started playing drums, and then
Jeb
Fowler, because
he missed his calling.
Yeah, Jeb Ball.
I'm playing with the Jeb Ball.
Hey, it sounds like one of those Texas music festivals. Are you playing Jeb Ball this year?
That's what I mean.
It's out in the heat.
Josh Ebbett band.
Yeah. Jeb Jam.
Jeb Jam. You playing Jeb Jam?
Yeah, it's out in the heat. They got a stage out there. It's uncovered.
They give you towels.
Yeah, it's in August. Yeah, they got a place for you to hang out underneath the oak tree
in the parking lot,
in the mud pit. Yeah, yeah. When it's time to get paid, you just get to wait around.
Yeah.
You
get to hang out in a RV with no AC.
Steve, our bass player, there used to be this thing that you could make a video, like an animated, you would put in the text and it would come up with these computerized little characters. And he wrote this whole thing about these situations, about the worst festivals that you play. It's like,
he probably promoted some of those.
Yeah, probably so. It's like, we have some room temperature meat that's on a table.
It's like a jib jab thing.
Follow the flies. If you want to hang out, you can hang out underneath the tree with the mud in the mud pit. Yeah, but so I don't know. We just started playing gigs as Matt the Cat and the Gutter Rats.
So the question that everybody wants to know is, why'd you spell out 1100 Springs?
Because it was problematic. If you put it on a sign, people are like, at 11 o'clock, Springs are playing. Or 1,100 Springs is coming up tonight.
See, you're a problem solver.
It's just, it just becomes practical at that point.
When did that start happening? So how long did you go around with, the Gutter Rats, then the Lone Star Trio?
Yeah.
Then for a minute, was it just Matt the Cat?
No, we went from Lone Star Trio to this rock band called Strap. This hard rock band. It was like a ZZ Top, AC/DC type thing.
All right.
Because Lone Star Trio we started going more after what the Reverend Horton Heat was doing, and we got louder and louder and just closer to just being a rock band anyways, with an upright bass and this guy playing double kick drums and all this. And
that thing.
Yeah, and eventually we're just like,
Rock-a-punk.
you can't hear the bass. You can't really hear if we're going to be loud, let's be a rock band while we can. And we thought people would like it. They did not like it.
Was it two guitars?
At the end it was, but at first it was like a power trio. Like, we really, ZZ Top was what made sense. That's what made sense. It's like, if we're going to be loud, like ZZ Top's a trio, they sort of play bluesy, sort of boogie type stuff.
That's right.
We could do that.
Yeah, that's what you did.
Yeah. So we did it for a minute. And then after that was 1100 Springs.
And was that still Steve? Was Steve?
Yeah. Steve and I met in a band called the Red Devils. After Matt the Cat and the Gutter Rats, I moved back to Dallas because the whole management thing fell apart.
So you moved to Austin when you were mid-teens?
Well, I didn't move, but in the summer times. I would come down and do gigs, and I would stay at Carlin's house during the summer, which was just kind of intimidating. Not because really her. She's a force of nature,
Right.
She didn't pull any punches.
Right.
But just because that's where everything was, and it was just intimidating just because all of a sudden you're sort of thrust into this world of Texas music that
Was it fun?
Yeah, of course it was fun, because at that point we were playing, when you're 13, 14 and you're playing the Hole in the Wall and the Continental Club and Green Hall and Broken Spoke and all these places that are sort of legendary.
Yeah.
And it's a charge, man. Like, it's still a charge for us when we get up on stage and you get that sort of instant gratification.
Yeah, and you were playing in front of real bands.
Yeah, and you're learning on the job. And I didn't make a lot of money, but I didn't have to have like a job at the yogurt store or anything like that. I always had some money in my pocket.
Right.
And it was cool. And it felt like, because Carlin was getting people signed, it really did feel like it might go someplace.
Something could happen.
Yeah, because Kelly Willis was also just got signed up with Carlin at the same time. And you're in.
And was she already with did that go right to Universal or whatever, MCA?
MCA she went to. It was pretty quick. I remember the first time I saw her was at Port David's Pub with the Wagoneers, and she had the band Kelly and the Fireballs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was married to
Moss.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that seemed like it was going, and Carlin put together like showcase for Tony Brown, Matt the Cat and the Gutter Rats.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that a South by Southwest thing?
No, it was La Zona Rosa, and I think we were opening for the Subdudes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my first day of high school. And so I went to high school and left for the first day, got in the car where my mom picked me up, took me to Love Field and flew me down there. But it was also the same day that Stevie Ray Vaughan died. And I was just starting to get into his stuff. My mom told me in the car, and I was pretty bummed out, because I just was really getting into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sure that I would eventually get to meet him because I had all these mutual friends.
Of course you would have.
Yeah. And then when Gordon Fowler, Jeb's dad, picked me up at the airport, everybody I saw was just in tears the whole time. So the energy was bad for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucked. And I remember being up there sucking and looking over at the table because Tony Brown, I think, was in town rounding up music for Thelma and Louise.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Charlie's in that.
Yeah. And
Sexton.
that's right. And I forgot about that. And
I did too until the other night.
The movie came on. They were rerunning it.
They're rerunning it a lot right now for some reason. And I heard him and I go,
yeah,
that sounds like Charlie Sexton.
It's kind of like watching Hope Floats.
Kind of like.
Take me back to Travis County.
There you go.
I know that dude.
Yeah, man, that's what it was like. All of a sudden, and they took time to focus on the Pretty Boy and do the whole band thing. It was happening.
Yeah.
So he's in town getting stuff for Thelma and Louise.
Yeah, and I'm up there sucking, and I can feel it. I know it sucks. My guitar sounds like crap. The show's not going well. All the energy around me is bad, and I'm looking over, and there's Tony Brown. I'm on stage here. The table that they're at is right there. Like they set up a table specially right there.
Right front row, right.
There's Tony Brown and Bruce Robinson and Kelly Willis and Carlin. They're all just having enchiladas and watching me suck,
Oh.
A week later, Carlin called me up and she read me the riot act. She's like, "You'll never play guitar on your records ever, and you need to..." And she told me I needed to sign a publishing deal or we probably wouldn't be working together anymore, which I really thought I blew it as a kid. I mean, I'm 15. I thought, man, I was
just putting that together. That must have sucked.
Yeah, it did. It did. And she she dressed me down like only she could. And, and I remember being bummed out, but then I remember like maybe a week later, just kind of thinking to myself, oh, fuck you. Is that what you get your jollies after dressing down a 15-year-old kid?
Yeah.
Like people have, I wasn't up there trying to suck. You know what I mean? Like I was trying to, and then she went through this whole thing where she told me leading up to it, this is not a showcase. It's not a show. Anyways.
Right.
But anyways,
trying to keep the pressure off you, and then when you suck, pretending like you knew that this was big time.
Yeah, and I think what pissed me off the most, and I don't have any really ill feeling. She wasn't wrong, but I didn't dig it. What pissed me off the most, which really got me to say, well, screw it. I guess this is just not meant to be.
Right.
Which is a hard thing as a 15-year-old to sort of come to. But I think the whole thing about the publishing deal, because she wanted me to sign a publishing contract with her publishing company. And I just thought, why? I mean, I barely have even written 3 or 4 songs. I'm just learning how to do this. Now you want, no.
Yeah.
Don't give me an ultimatum. I mean,
that's pretty. That's a lot of wherewithal as a 15-year-old kid to kind of.
I just didn't want to. I didn't want to proceed with that, and plus, I really wanted to be in a rockabilly band, and I think what they wanted me to be was like New Kids on the Barnyard or something like that. Seriously, I mean, because we were a 3-piece, and then they started talking to
on the Barnyard.
Really. I mean, they started talking to Colin Gilmore, Jimmy Dale Gilmore's son, about playing a second guitar.
Right.
And like they're trying to build this, boy band of Texas music legacy, which kind of would have been cool, but that's not what I wanted to do.
Well, if you'd had if you'd have known, I mean, it wouldn't have been new kid. What was it?
New Kids on the Barnyard.
Yeah.
Well, they dressed us up in these cool little clothes and stuff.
But at the time, they were having there was a lot of potential and some success because Kelly was into rockabilly stuff too.
Yeah.
And so they kind of go, okay, we'll get her signed as this force of nature and then we'll mold her into this country act.
Yeah.
Which is probably what
that's what they wanted to do. Yeah. But so I left all that behind. I went back to Dallas and I joined this band called the Red Devils out of Denton. And that's where Steve and I met. And that was just like a garage punk rockabilly band. And I just was playing guitar. I wasn't singing at all, which was a really great move for me for like the 6 months that we were in that band. Because it just refocused. And then Steve and I quit.
What were you doing on guitar? Were you power chording it or were you Angus Young in it?
No, I mean, I was doing, that sort of jazzy rockabilly sort of stuff, bluesy, jazzy rockabilly stuff, and I really knuckled down and just tried to become a better guitar player because that's when I started. That's what I wanted to be, as a guitar player.
Right.
Singing and songwriting was just a byproduct of, like a means to an end
right.
of the whole thing. But so yeah, I was knuckling down on that, and then we quit and started Lone Star Trio. We spent a few years on the road doing that. But then after Lone Star Trio to Strap was, oh man,
strap it on, boys.
Seriously. Wow, man, I talked more shit than I sang. I just scream at the audience. The funniest shows we would do, we became friends with Jacko Pierce.
Oh yeah.
And it was so funny because they loved we could not have been more opposite.
Right. No.
And like candelabras on stage and velvet drapes over all kinds of stuff. And we would come up with full Marshall stacks and 2 double bass drums and just scream at their audience, berate their audience, but they loved it.
They loved it.
They loved it.
That was when I was opening for them too.
That's
funny.
Who were you closer to in that camp, Jack or Carrie?
I love them both for the same, for different reasons.
That's okay.
Carrie, because I was in a fraternity at SMU at the time.
Okay.
And they were in that same fraternity, and so I would watch them every Monday at the Rhythm Room. Remember the Rhythm Room?
Oh, yeah, I remember the Rhythm Room.
And I would just stare up there and go, I could do that.
Yeah.
And so then I started, Carrie was really helpful. They were both really helpful to me.
Yeah.
And I really do love them both. He was so full of energy and knew exactly where they were playing. Like he was booking the shows and doing the merch.
That makes a lot of sense.
And doing all the stuff.
Yeah.
And which afforded Jack the ability to just
be the
be
rock
Mr.
and
Cool
roller.
Guy.
Yeah.
I'm smoking weed.
Naturally, Carrie was always nice to me too.
So I loved them both. I wanted to be Jack.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have a business like Carrie.
Yeah.
And to this day, Carrie, I'm still in touch with Carrie all the time. Not all the time. We talk occasionally. And
I see Jack once in a while. His brother lives right down the street from me.
Herm.
Yeah.
James.
That's right.
He was my first harmonica player.
Right. That's what he told me. Yeah. I'm sure I can go ahead and just with license to say that he says hello.
Good.
Yeah. Because
tell him I said hello.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, we used to play at the open mic night, he and I.
The Rhythm Room is right across the street from the Green Elephant.
That's right.
No, the across the street bar.
That's right. Well, so the Rhythm Room was on.
Okay, yeah, they weren't on the same street.
Dyer.
Yeah.
And Green Elephant and across the street bar and the Yale Street Ice House.
How many iterations of the Rhythm Room did you play? Because I feel like the Rhythm Room was first.
Right. Before that, right before we got there, it was Popsicle Toes.
Oh, see, no, I don't remember that.
That was what my brother went to.
Popsicle Toes
And
didn't last.
It didn't last. What a great name.
How confusing can it be?
And then it turned into the Rhythm Room. Now it's the Green Elephant again.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I feel like the Rhythm Room, in my memory, the Rhythm Room maybe became Stimpy's and then something called the Stone Pony.
Yeah, that's right. It became the Stone Pony.
Uh-huh.
Then it became the Home Bar.
Okay.
But that was after I was well on my way to 8 Airs.
Yeah. You lived in Dallas, though, right?
Yeah, I was going to school there.
Yeah, okay.
That's how I knew all your iterations of different bands, because I just knew there was this really cool guy named Matt the Cat.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. What year did you start doing the 8 ears thing?
90.
Okay.
The 89, 90 or 91. The January of.
I didn't realize we were that far behind you in the 8 airs Monday night. You were Mondays, right?
I was every Tuesday night.
Okay.
And you guys started playing there around 98.
98.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I had quit coming about 96.
Yeah. So all of your shows there were in the triangle stage at the back of the bar.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. It wasn't even a stage.
Yeah.
It was, we'd have to come in. I'd come in at like 6 or 7, take the booth out that was right underneath the TV.
Yeah.
And then I'd take that and put it back by the men's restroom, by the payphone.
Yeah.
And the jukebox was back there then too.
Yeah.
And so we'd have to, when we went out, I'd unplug the jukebox,
which is the worst place that you could set up the band in that place ever. Because if you remember it, and I don't know that they fixed it or not, but something wasn't right with the plumbing and the bathrooms.
It used to stink.
Oh, it was bad. It was not good.
I remember there was a walkway. Here was the corner. The bathrooms were back here. And you'd walk through, and then there were like room for like 3 or 4 booths over here.
Uh-huh.
And people, that's where all your friends would sit and just yell mean shit at you while you're playing.
Yeah. Well, Monday nights for us, this is how the overlap with the whole rock band and then how 1100 Springs started, because we were doing, Richie Vasquez plays drums.
Yeah.
Okay. So Richie and I had a day gig at the time working at a warehouse. And we were doing these rock gigs too. And he was playing with Jesse Dayton, and Richie and I got to talking, and Steve and Richie and I decided it'd be kind of cool if we could make some extra beer money playing old country songs, because that's kind of where our roots were.
Yeah.
On Monday nights, and it wasn't supposed to be anything. So we went to Steve. Of course, Steve got us our first gigs and most of the gigs.
So Steve was Carrie.
Steve is
He was the business guy.
Yeah, Steve is the guy who quite literally has kept me out of jail, probably.
Really? So he was always on it.
Yeah. Well, when we first hooked up, it was really kind of a thing where instantly it became a sort of, we knew we were going to have each other's back on some level, and probably him more so than me, him having my back.
Yeah.
But so we started doing that on Monday nights.
You'd talk your way out of trouble, and
I was too clueless to even know it was happening.
He would be able to get out of trouble too. You weren't trying to help him.
And he could work on cars and stuff. So
I do remember that.
So when we'd be at the side of the road, there was one tour, we had this bagel van. It was do you remember Bagelstein's?
Of course.
Okay. So the first van we bought was from Bagelstein's. I'm sort of derailing here, but it's going to be worth it. The first van we bought was from Bagelstein's, and it's this big white cargo van, no seats except the 2 front seats, and no windows. And
Like Dumb and Dumber.
And it says, pretty much. But it says on the side with a big phone number, inviting you to a world of fine dining. Spring Valley and Coit, Bagelstein's got a big blue bagel on the side of it. And they had sprayed it with spray-on insulation. I don't know, to keep the bagels warm or something. It's like a delivery van.
Wow.
We bought this thing, and and so but everywhere we would go, of course, people, the minute we pull up, we get out, people are like, you got any bagels?
That must have been fun every time.
It was fun. But the other part that was fun about it is all that spray-on insulation. If you rubbed up against it, you'd get like this orange dust on you. So we'd roll out in these cool Rockabilly duds and get out and just orange dust on us. So finally,
showbiz, baby.
So this is where the Dumb and Dumber really comes in, because at one point in time we decided we needed to upholster somehow the inside of the van. So Steve and I, somehow we got used carpet from one of our friends' mom's house. It's a big roll of it, and we glued it to chipboard. We glued it to chipboard, and we screwed it into the walls, so the whole inside was this carpet. But the problem was, when we screwed it into the ceiling, the screws were too long. So they went through. Yeah. And if it would rain.
I bet that smelled good.
Oh, yeah, man. That just is a gift that keeps on giving. Yeah. Why can't I breathe? Because you're living in black mold. So it's either orange dust or black mold. But anyways,
I take black mold.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Until your nervous system shuts down.
Well,
anyways, so I don't know how I derailed off the
I don't
the
either,
bagel
man, but that's great. Hopefully we can find a picture of that.
Oh, I've got it. Yeah. Oh, but no, because Steve this is where it was.
Okay.
The bagel van was just started to fall apart. Because
That's the difference between last time we talked and this time. We can follow the thread.
Okay, fair enough. So, yeah, we've done this before, folks.
Have we?
Yes. I got deja vu.
If you wouldn't have screwed it up, we wouldn't have to be here.
Yeah,
Again.
I know. I'm sorry. I owe you one, buddy.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. But so that bagel van kept falling apart and falling apart. Like the motor blew one time, and instead of just leaving it at the side of the road in the desert in California, we towed it back to Dallas and got a new motor in it. But there
Cost you like $1,000.
Yes, it was a terrible idea. Just a whole long list of reasons not to do any number of things. But there was one tour that we were on. I don't know if you remember a band called Tenderloin.
Barely.
Okay, Taz Bentley, who after he played with the Rev, he played with Tenderloin, and we went to a Midwest run with those guys. We'd stay at the same hotels, but we would always get to the sound check like an hour and a half later than they would. And at one point, they're like, "Why we leave at the same time? What is the deal with you guys?" It's like, well, we have to pull over to the side of the road every 100 miles and drop the drive shaft and replace the U joints. We went on tour with a case of U joints. If you have to go on tour with a case of U joints, you're doing it wrong.
Something's not happening right.
But Steve could do it, and that's
right.
why necessity is the mother of
What's
all.
Steve doing now? Invention.
He is he's a buy and sell type guy. He's like he's not. I wouldn't say he's a picker, but he's a guy. He's a guy who's got an eye for stuff and has always been estate selling and reselling stuff, and he's done pretty well. And he's got a booth at this vintage shop that I think he does pretty well with. But he's also working for the record label that I'm with now. So we never seem to quite be able to separate from one another.
So he's working at the label. What's he doing at the label?
He's kind of, as I told him when they talked about hiring him on, it's like, you watch, in short order, this dude is going to be your MVP because he picks up the phone, he answers emails, you ask him to do something, he does it immediately the right way. So that's kind of I think he started in sort of organizing their whole merch and shipping stuff, but now I think he's probably wearing all different kinds of hats.
Steve's on it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Always has been.
It's very irritating. As a person who's not on it.
I know. When you started saying he answers the phone, returns calls,
it's like, that sounds
emails,
like a lot of work.
I'm like, oh God.
Oh, who does that anymore?
When does he have time to breathe?
That's the whole point of having a cell phone is to not have to talk to people.
And now they have notifications off or silent.
Yeah. Don't you love it when you text somebody and it says, it tells you they have their notifications silent.
You know what my favorite thing is about that? Do you want to send anyway?
Yeah, right.
I go, fuck yeah.
Yeah, poke.
Can't ignore me.
How dare you? How dare you? To be clear, I think that the whole irritation is more probably on Steve's side of the table.
Oh, I can't imagine that.
Trying to deal with me for
the weight he lost.
30 years.
Imagine the weight he lost when y'all finally called it quits on 1100 Springs.
30 years, yeah.
30 years, man. That's a good run. That's like Pete.
Well, 23 for 1100, but then whatever. Yeah, you got that thing with him.
Except he's not good at any of that shit either.
But he's a snappy dresser.
He can dress.
He's a snappy dresser.
Last weekend we had a show and it was really hot. We were in Canadian Texas, which is
way up there,
Oklahoma, basically. And the one thing I noticed from the show was that for the first time in 27 years, I saw Pete pitting out. I was like, that's not like him.
Oh, he had to hate it.
I know. I didn't even bring it up to him.
Yeah,
he was like, "Ooh, that's a sad day in his history."
I mean, if he's pitting out on his shirt, you can only imagine what's going on inside those laced-up leather pants.
Oh, I can tell you what's going on there.
Oh, okay, all right. I don't want to know.
So, speaking of coming to an end, not with Pete.
Yeah,
but why'd y'all quit? Why'd y'all disband
I think we'd been, if I'm honest, like we'd been hovering over that button for a long time, really. Just because, I mean, I think we got to a point where it's like when it's time to make a record, we just kind of scratch our heads and go, are we doing this, or
Was it a matter of where's it going to go? Are we covering new ground? Or what was the artistic?
Both of those things, really. Like there are other factors, and I think especially when the pandemic came along, it gave everybody in the world a chance to reevaluate where they're at in life and where they actually want to be.
Yeah.
And I think for Steve's part, I think that there's other things he wanted to do besides go. I mean, he doesn't drink. Going to bars is not his favorite thing.
Has he ever drank?
Oh yeah. Yeah. There was a time. Legendary. The stuff of legend. Yeah. So I think it just wasn't what he wanted to do. And we had some pretty in-depth conversations over a period of like 6 months talking about it. And I did sort of say, well, how would you feel if I wanted to keep doing this and have somebody else? Because I mean, I've been here this whole time too, and I've worked a lot to develop it to what it is or what it isn't. That's it's a big deal.
No matter what, yeah, it's a big deal. 1100 Springs is a big deal.
Yeah. So but when I had to ask I didn't want to do it. I just been if I'm telling the truth, I really have been having a lot of fun just doing the solo acoustic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to do something else. I don't necessarily know that trying to keep traditional country music alive is my focal point. I mean, I'm always going to write this kind of songs that I write, and a lot of them will come out that way. And I still love that music, but just, I watch how hard Mike and the Moon Pies are working now, and they're doing great. And I'm so stoked because I know what it was like for us. And watching them and other bands that are similar and more traditional, that are younger coming up and getting successful, kind of makes me go, golly, I kind of wish we were doing it now and going out there and giving it the college try, because there's just more of an audience for that.
There is.
And, but the truth is, man, I know what it was like for us. And plus I just think I wanted to do something different. He wanted to do something different. And what's more, I didn't really want to continue on without Steve at my side. Because if you're with somebody that long, you're like an old married couple, which means you love each other and you drive each other nuts and all of that stuff. But I just I wouldn't have felt right about that. Just, we started it together long before 1100 Springs. And we should, for all the work and effort that he put in, and for me too, we should end it together.
Yeah.
It's
funny, man. The way you talk about it, it's almost like you're in the military, because you're still young.
Well, I'm 46. Yeah.
These days, that's
it's the 46 is the new 23. Yeah.
But you are young. It's like to have that kind of history, a 30-year history with a dude.
Yeah.
A successful history to varying degrees. And it's like, that must be cool to be able to go, okay, that was that.
Yeah. Well, this is something, I mean, I know you can relate to 100% because, for whatever it was or wasn't, at the end of it, when you're looking back and people are lamenting and why are you breaking up and all that stuff. One thing that does come across and that you can actually see is that, you had a place in this whole thing.
Right.
You had a place in it, and it impacted other people in the same way that other people impacted us and people impacted you. And
that's right.
That you have had an effect and still continue to on other people. That's cool.
It is cool. I mean, it's comforting in the middle of the night and other time when you're really thinking about it. Because we all, you can't help but get in this business and think, okay, first it's this, then it's bam,
right,
straight to the moon.
Yeah.
And when you make it, somewhere heading towards the moon, and you start going, oh shit, we're losing our U joints.
Yeah, right.
You kind of go, what was all this for?
Right.
Or what is all this for?
Yeah.
And you mentioned Mike and the Moon Pies, and I'm sure they would say the same thing. And it sounds dramatic, but it's not. I've thought about it in times of my own situation, of bands like Wilco, bands that have a huge effect on the musical landscape around them
Yeah.
and influence bands that then go on to go way further than they did. I mean,
Yeah.
Wilco's an extreme example because they made it.
Yeah.
They're still really up there, but there are bands that they influenced. I mean, every band in the entire DFW area for 15 years sounded like Wilco.
And in Texas in general, that really is so tangible. Because I'm sure you do this as well, but I like to read like music biography stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing, when I read about Bob Wills, or if I read about Willie Nelson or Steve Ray Vaughan, anybody that's from Texas, you're not going to have to read too long before you start hitting names. It's like, I know that dude. I know that dude.
Yeah.
And maybe they were, in the grand scheme of things, maybe sort of bit players or whatever, or not. But you still have access to it. And that's one of the things I love most about the scene, is that everybody is sort of in that whole thing together. And for me, like the way I looked at it, like I've talked about how a lot of the stuff that I was doing felt niche. I don't know if I'm saying the word right.
Niche.
Can you edit this? My mother's gonna watch. She's an English professor.
You think he knows how to say it?
No, but
what are you saying? Niche?
Niche, whatever. You know what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying.
But so all the stuff that I was into, and this relates, I was thinking about this on the way down here. It always felt like something that was only ever supposed to get so big. So like when we were starting 1100 Springs, like the guys that we were looking to were like the Derailers. And their success model was to go and play like 300 seaters and have good crowds and travel all over the country playing that traditional style of country music.
Yeah.
To me, that looked great.
Yeah.
But I remember, and I don't know if you probably won't remember this, but I remember we played a gig with you at the Melody Mountain Ranch.
In Waco?
Yeah. Oh boy, the good times. But your trajectory was going up like this. It was probably around about the time of Hey You.
Right.
Just maybe just
late
before.
90s.
Yeah.
99, 2000.
And I remember having a conversation with you, and you were talking about, it's like, man, I can see what we do in front of really big crowds in really big venues. I can see it. I can envision it. Can you see it?
Right.
And I remember thinking, it's like, no, no, I can't.
Can you see it? Can you see
I can't.
It's right here.
No, I couldn't see it. But like in my mind, I probably should have taken a harder look, you know? I probably should have tried to see it a little bit more. But I just saw like Junior Brown and Dale Watson and that kind of stuff. You know?
That's the thing, though. There's different ways to get there. You know, I mean, I had to see it.
Yeah.
Because of whatever reason I had to. Like, I always had this, Al Bonetta, Todd Snyder's manager, told me one night we were watching the Super Bowl. I forget which Super Bowl. I think it was when the Titans played the Rams. And I was talking about whatever, the business. He's a manager. And so he managed John Prine. And he was adamant. He goes, son, you have to shoot for the moon. Because you might hit a star. And if you shoot for the stars, you might hit a cloud. And if you shoot for the cloud, you probably end up on the roof.
Do you have a pen and paper?
And if you shoot for the roof, but he was basically saying, look, dude, you better start dreaming bigger than this. Because, I mean, the subtext is you're not going to get there.
Right.
But if you shoot high enough, you'll get somewhere.
Right.
And it's just a different, and for dreamers like me, like, you know, I had to be, that's why I'm always so enamored with guys that came up technically.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't a guitar player. I'm still not a guitar player. I just have these thoughts.
I always thought you were pretty good.
Shut up. And I always thought you were good looking.
Don't sell yourself short, pal.
You know what I mean, man. Terrible.
We got all these guitars here. You know,
play one,
you can
baby.
You can play.
Whereas guys who had a more skill level at the technical part of music didn't have to. I really do think this. You don't have to dream as big outside of yourself because it's all right here.
Yeah,
it's kind of self-contained in this thing that talent can take you that far. And mine had to be, you know, I had to acquire talent along the way.
I feel like I look at it now, especially the opposite. When I was a kid getting into it, I wanted to be a good guitar player and I wanted to sing. I like to sing. But first, I thought of myself as a guitar player. And my mom was the one who told me, yeah, you can practice and get pretty good, but you're wasting your time if you don't write your own songs. If you don't have anything to say, then who's going to want to listen to that? You know, all the best people, the people that matter, write their own songs. And for
Your mom's smart.
she's brilliant. You should have her on the podcast.
No doubt. I bet she'd be fun.
My mother is so cool that when she was like in high school, Rocky Erickson serenaded her.
Really?
Yeah.
And she drove him crazy.
Yeah, right. The one that got away. Yeah, no, it's cool.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's a bragging point. But I don't know. I think over time, like seeing dudes like you or Todd Snyder, any of the people that, John Prine was big in our household.
Yeah.
Good songwriters. Over time, it really became like that. It's backwards to me because I think like technical, you could be a really good guitar player and play for somebody's band or or fake your way through. But if you don't have a song, you don't have anything. You got nothing to say.
Willie Nelson said that.
Yeah, you can't make a record if you don't have something to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. I can laugh about my inability to play guitar. I mean, I can play guitar to suit my songs just fine.
Do you feel like you could play a solo? You could go muster up a solo.
I could muster up something, but then if I've tried it before, and it's that like with songs, I can write it and play it as if I'd played it forever in front of people.
Yeah.
But if I try and play the guitar in front of people, that brain just starts. It starts going, and I am just going. Nah!
But see, on some level, I wish that there's plenty of times that I wish I wasn't the guitar player.
Yeah,
because so much of my career on stage has just been I'm in my head because I'm thinking three things at the same time.
Right.
And getting out of it and grabbing that moment and getting outside of yourself, like I've heard you talk about.
Yeah.
It was always just, and I can do it, and that's what you're striving for, and you figure out how to get there. But on some level, I'm still thinking about singing and doing this at the same time.
Right. That takes up bandwidth.
It does.
And I always figured also, every time I tried to learn to play the guitar or tried to incorporate really playing the guitar, I always, in my mind, thought, and this sounds delusional, which is how you get where you're going anyway.
Yeah.
But I can try to be the best songwriter that ever lived.
Yeah.
But I could play guitar all day, every day for the rest of my life and not even sniff the great guitar. You know what I mean?
But it's a fool's errand, man.
Yeah.
I got to that point. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a good guitar player, and I got to a point where it's like, okay, I'm actually pulling this off a little bit. And then I went to like a performing arts high school, fancy pants for music nerds and art nerds and stuff like that. And I found myself around all these other really talented kids, and I started getting off into jazz. And I was like, well, I'm not doing that because I will do enough of it just to learn a few extra licks, but I'm not. You don't come back. You don't come back from that.
That's a waterfall coming right over the top of you.
You can't jump right in and get back out. You dip your you have to.
You've talked to jazz players.
Walk in. You turn into Reed Easterwood.
Yeah, man. Well, I've talked to. I know that you know all those guys from Denton from way back when, but it's like they would have stories about these great players that never came. That took them a lifetime just to learn how to play again.
Hindsight, I wish I'd have knuckled down and just, got over my own little stupid ego and just learned a little bit more of it. But I did get to the point, I guess, what I'm saying is that I realized I was never going to be the best guitar player.
Right.
And it wasn't as important to me.
Right.
Because, you can be a good guitar player, but if you don't have any songs, everything kind of, and all of it started to matter equally at the same time, and singing started to matter because everybody sings. I just always thought of it that way. I didn't really think about it. Everybody sings.
Right.
Some people shouldn't, but
Right. Well,
but everybody does, and you can fake your way through an entire successful career being a crappy singer.
yeah.
But I got to a point where I thought to myself, man, you could actually be a pretty good singer if you think about it. So I don't know. I just started to think about all three of those.
Well, you
things.
can't ever fake your way through a bad song.
Yeah.
But you can be a shitty singer with a great song, and that can come off.
If you can sell it.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
That's it. Right.
It's and I've seen that growth. And I mean, I'm never here. We're friends at a level where I feel like we're the same age, like in that same spot.
Yeah.
So, but I've seen you take interest and dive into songwriting and singing
Yeah.
and telling the story and not just relying on being a guitar player and the style of it, which the style of it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen that over the years, and it's killer to watch.
Thanks for noticing, buddy.
I
There's a
noticed.
lot of love going
I'm
on
watching.
here, man.
I'm watching.
I tell you what. Do you have any advice for me moving forward in my career?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Well, one word. Batman.
Batman.
Yeah. More Batman gear.
3 words.
Oh.
Christian Bale Batman.
Christian Bale Batman. Yeah. Oh, we're not going down the Batman.
We're not doing that again.
We're not doing that again. See, we did this before.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
So
Songwriting became the thing that I love the most.
yeah.
And it is now. That's that was always even almost bigger than getting a charge from an audience, is like once you wrap up a song and finish it, and the idea that you just maybe stared at the wall for a couple hours, got your brain cells working as hard as they possibly could, and came up with something. It just created something out of thin air.
Yeah.
And then if it's good, and it's good, which is so rare,
Yeah.
man, that's almost better
For you.
Yes. Look, I'm like, look.
I'm kidding.
I make no bones.
No, but it is. You did something in the last 4 hours, 3 hours, or however long it takes.
Yeah.
That wasn't there. That would never be there if it wasn't for you. That's
Yeah.
that's a pretty powerful moment.
Uh-huh. I remember the first time we played with you at the Gypsy Tea Room, and it was right when Hey You came out, and you had Mike and Jens on guitar. You had the 5-piece, I guess.
That's right. Jens.
Powerful band, and it's great shows we did with you. But I remember the first time I ever heard Biloxi.
Right.
And that, I mean, I dug your music from doing all the shows together and
Right.
listening to your records and stuff. But man, that kind of flipped my head open as far as like seeing people flipped your head open. That's not an expression.
I like it. It is now.
It is now. Okay.
That's writing, buddy.
Yeah. Hold on. No, but like that, from seeing like somebody who is, all, for lack of a better term, a contemporary, that song just was so truthful and so honest and just like really hit,
Yeah.
Seeing that and going, that's the kind of bullseye sort of truth telling you should be trying to get to.
That's funny that at that time we were doing so many shows together and pulling different things from the experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember being with you guys and going, oh, okay, so I have all this bluster and bullshit and working on songs. If I could just tighten that shit up and really make it pop when it's supposed to, and doing what you guys were doing, which was the style of it was just over the top. I was like, because I'd go out there and y'all go out there looking sharp and playing the part and then delivering the goods. It's funny that we would meet up after every show and just celebrate in it.
Oh, good times.
Just celebrate.
Well, that's cool that you would say that, because I feel like I watched the Rev since I was 12 years old, and I remember because I would go to see every show I could see, and back then he played all 7 nights a week in Dallas, 3 sets a night, all original music,
Mm-hmm.
mostly. and all this amazing guitar playing and all this. It's just an incredible bar band.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched it start to happen for me, going on the road, and he'd come back around, and all of a sudden it's no more 3 sets. It's one 90-minute set. And I was really disappointed in that whole situation. I was like, well, you didn't play this, you didn't play this, you didn't play, and but it got tighter and tighter, and you watched the show develop in such a way where it's like, oh, so what you want to do is come out on stage and just punch people in the face for 30 straight minutes before you say a damn thing.
Yeah.
Don't say a word. Just come out there and just level them, and then say something, and then tell your joke or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
But your whole deal is different because, I mean, the songwriting thing is like, that's part of it.
But the 90-minute set was...
I also love the whole, you come out and you're kind of got your thing going, and my name's Jack Ingram, and I play country music. I was like, I like that.
You gotta have your tagline.
I like that attitude, man. It's just like,
well, that just came out of necessity the same way everything else does. Because at the time I was coming up, people would be like, what kind of music do you play?
right?
And you'd say country, and they go, well, I hate country music,
Yeah.
but I love you. I'm like, well, then you fucking love country music.
But then to put you up next, because what you were doing was country, and it was great songwriting. But then to put you up next to, or so many of our friends who were doing good country music, but you put them up next to the people who were having big hits of the day, those country music fans, they didn't recognize that as country music.
No.
So you spelling it out like that is something that I loved, because it's just like, yeah, you do play country music. You should go ahead and say it. And it was the same way for us when you talk about how we looked the part and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember making a calculated decision at a certain point, because we were always kind of dressed up the part a little bit, but at the beginning it wasn't as focused. But I remember when Red Dirt started to happen, and the Texas music world was one thing, and then Red Dirt started coming in, and all these guys start showing up with, holy jeans and, leather wristbands or whatever it was that they were wearing, and whatever elements of whatever sort of street clothes that we would wear on stage at some point in time. It's like, I remember saying, look, we need to make sure this is spelled out as clear as possible. We are going to start wearing suits, and just make sure when we show up, there's no question that it matches.
Right.
Like our message is clear. And that didn't last, because you don't want to wear those monkey suits forever.
Yeah, but it's important, man.
But for a minute, it became important, especially in that deal. And I don't think it was us trying to say, we don't do that.
No, you've always been inclusive in your friendships.
But it's more like, this is what we do. Just so we're clear. We played 4/4 shuffles that hopefully we can keep people dancing at the White Elephant Saloon.
Right.
That was a big deal to get a gig at the White Elephant.
It was a big deal.
Yeah.
It was funny that you mentioned the Melody Ranch, and I remember getting such a charge out of showing up to play there, or any of those big dance halls throughout Texas, certainly in the late 90s. And they would have all the rules for the bands. No drinking on stage, no this, no that. Was it 5 45-minute sets?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, 5 seems excessive. I mean, 4 seems, but
remember those? And I
yeah.
and I remember just reading those and going, I'm going to try and break every one of those rules tonight.
Yeah.
It was such a charge to go, I'm playing 90 minutes.
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
We're not doing any of your rules, and you're going to ask us back.
Yeah. Well, and I'm interested in your perspective on all of this, because you were doing what people call Texas music before this whole sort of explosion where Pat and Corey come along, and then all of a sudden it's something different. But you were already successful doing that stuff. So, like, when I talk about some of the first gigs that we could get were these 9 to 1 shows playing country, hopefully at the White Elephant, and that seemed like a real country music show. Like, what was the landscape? Did you ever do the Three Teardrops Tavern?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember being in and around that
What was
scene.
his name? The owner?
John Bailey.
John.
Yeah.
He was the first lesson of owner as star is probably not a real good combination.
Yeah.
Great guy, but very kind of.
You know what, he used to drive us crazy because Lone Star Trio would play there, and we knew we could set our watch up by. He was gonna use the same joke on us every single time he paid us whatever pittance he would give us. It was gonna come right 10, 9, 8, 7. Who gets the extra penny?
That was his line.
Yes, because there's 3 of us. It's like, okay, good, man.
That's funny.
Thanks for bringing that old yeah. Oh, that old chestnut. Yeah. Thanks. That's a good one. Yeah.
But the landscape, as far as all that goes, when I started, that was just like I told you, part of what I loved about more traditional stylistic bands like you guys was the ability to just play 4 sets, play 3 sets. I would go into a club and they'd say 3 sets. I go,
Yeah.
Once I get them, I can't get them back.
Yeah.
Like,
I hate taking breaks.
I know, man.
It's
I'd be
the
like,
worst.
there are no breaks in my show.
Yeah.
'Cause I lose me.
How much resistance from those clubs?
It was a lot.
Because I'm going to tell you, when we first tried to get booked into 8 Airs, it was Lone Star Trio. And you know what they told us? They wouldn't book us because they told us in 1993, we only book established acts.
That's pretty good.
In what circle?
I'm still taking the booth out,
Yeah,
putting
right.
the PA up.
Yeah, really? It doesn't seem like it. Not.
I think established in that business is 2 different things. One for the artists or the acts, and established to the owner just means people who draw a big crowd.
Well, we were bringing people.
Yeah.
They really missed out, but they wouldn't have, because even when 1100 Springs started playing at 8 Airs, I don't think, and I would hate to say this because I love Lois and everybody there, but I think at first it was not obvious to them at all because we weren't very good. We weren't drawing a crowd. We're on Monday nights and we looked weird, and all the bar regulars wanted us out. And then when people did start showing up, it was all our friends from the bars. It was service industry nights. So it was all a bunch of tattooed weird, and chicks were dancing with each other and stuff. And they're like, you need to get rid of these guys. But Paul Grubbs was the one who was like basically going to Lois and Junior and saying, as I understand it, but basically saying you need to give these dudes a chance. These are people who aren't ever in here on Monday nights. That's a good thing.
Right.
And it turned into a scene.
So funny how that works, man, because they wanted my crowd.
Yeah.
I wanted your crowd. When I would see your crowd, I'd be like, why don't we get the tattooed freaks?
Yeah.
Like, we're freaky, right?
Yeah.
But, instead it was like every Tuesday I played, it was frat night at 8 Airs.
Yeah.
And they loved it because it was all these kids coming in from 9 to 2 and spending money and assholes with elbows. And it just became, that was my means to an end. To just get reps.
Yeah.
To just play a new song in front of people and see if I could get anyone to take their eyes off a chick and say, oh, that's a cool song.
Well, your Live at 8 Airs record, I think, is better than ours. I mean, ours captures the moment, but I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it. If you ever gone back and listened to it.
I don't really go back I never go back and listen
to your stuff.
Only when other people are excited and want to play me songs, then I'll go, hey, that's pretty good. Wow.
You don't step back in the time machine hardly
It's a lot
ever?
better than I thought it was.
Fire up the old flux capacitor every once in a while. No, I loved your record, and especially Flutter was such a big song for you at the time.
Yeah.
And every time we would be loading in at 8 Airs, they would play that because they loved that it was another Live at 8 Airs CD.
That's right.
Breaks my heart. I don't think any of our music is on the jukebox at 8 Airs anymore.
Oh,
I don't think it is.
That can't be true.
I think it is. It's okay. It's all right.
That's not okay.
I
mean, how many Live at 8 Airs do they have?
Right. Gets me a little bit right
that
here.
That gets me a little bit.
I could be wrong about that, and I hope that I am. But I think it may be true.
Well, next time I'm in Dallas, I'm going to go see.
Did you go check it out?
We might need to right or wrong.
Big Joel I don't remember his last name.
Joel. Biggs
Joel.
is his first name.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, very good. That's what I thought. I don't want to be presumptuous. Yeah, I don't know. If you see it, take a screenshot and send it to me.
Oh well, I had a heartbreak that in that same sense. Somebody went to Aiders and sent me a picture of the jukebox, and for the last decade or however long, there's been a Jack Ingram neon above the jukebox, and it always gave me such pride. And then somebody sent me a picture, and the neon was gone, and I damn near had a breakdown. And a couple weeks later, I found out they just had to send it back in for servicing.
Oh, okay.
They put it back. I was like, I'm back.
All right, let's see how truthful you feel. If, let's say, same scenario, neon is gone, but somebody sends you a picture of somebody else's neon in your spot, which one would it be that would really cheese you off? Could you have will you say it? And you probably won't. Who would it be? Which really would get your goat the most? Now we're getting into the nuts and bolts.
No, but there are.
Last time we had to edit out, it was probably a solid 5 minutes of talking about how. Do you remember?
I don't remember that.
It was great.
Oh, because
we're gonna edit this out, I'm sure, because I don't want to. And then we couldn't stop. Like neither one of us could stop. We went on for like 5 minutes.
Too bad, man.
We were pulling away from
Such
it
potential.
trying to get back on track. And scene.
Hey, man. So for take 2,
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks for coming out.
Dude, I love you.
For coming down.
Yeah. I love you. I'm glad to see you. I would do it 2 more times.
Yeah, I love you
I
too.
feel like we haven't covered we didn't cover politics. Because a lot of your audience really wants to hear that.
They love politics.
Yeah, they want to know how you feel about it.
I do feel about it.
I feel about it too, and I would love to open it up. It always goes well. Religion. We didn't talk about religion. I wanted to highlight that this was given to me by Ted at Lone Star Dry Goods Ice House. And he wanted me to specifically give it to you because he says, and you've showed it to me now, that you make you put this in your little fountain.
So what I've done, I have a Lone Star, an iron star, and drilled a hole in this, put the tube up there,
Uh-huh.
put the star on the top, put it in a big container, up there, and then the water comes up. I got a cool little fountain. Do yourself a favor, make a fountain from Lone Star Dry Goods.
You can do anything
Ice
with
House
it.
cup.
And let's say you're having a good time, you're at the pool and stuff, you're summertime in it, you having a little beverage or whatever, poolside, and you're not paying attention. Whoops! Oh,
Hey. It's all good. Just let me
it's
refill
okay.
you.
It's all right.
There you go.
Don't cry over spilled beer.
Yeah.
Don't cry over spilled beer.
You don't know me.
You don't
My
know
cup's
me.
rubber.
Okay. Yeah. The good people at Lone Star Dry Goods Ice House. Visit them.
This
in
was
beautiful
not on purpose, by the way, but we both are.
Oh, great minds, man.
Yeah, well.
We're in sync, not the band today.
Yeah, we're not the
The new kids on the barnyard.
New kids on the. I think we should. I'm thinking about a change in the name. New boys in the barnyard.
New boys on the barn.
The alliteration.
Yeah, I guess but then you lose the whole. It was new kids were a thing back when they were trying to do it. So
I know.
Think,
We can argue that another time.
yeah, that's for episode 3.
2.5.
2.5. Yeah.
See you, bud.
All right, buddy.